This large sandwich is an oxygen magnet. Why is it an oxygen magnet? Because it's loaded with saturated fat, but more importantly, what makes it a magnet to oxygen is the omega-3s and the omega-6s and the arachidonic acid. They attract oxygen. That's why they oxidize, and that's why you don't want to heat them up in a fryer fat, because they get damaged. So when you have this fat in that cell membrane, it attracts oxygen so that you can burn glucose in an oxidative state. And instead of fermenting it, what they call lactorespiration, quasi-anaerobic respiration, and Warburg said when you drop the oxidation level of that cellular interior, that cytoplasm, by 30 or 35%, you get fermentation. Drops the pH of the cell, we end up with the beginning of cancer. So how do you keep the oxygen levels down? Damage the cell membrane with oxidized fats. They're already oxidized, and therefore they won't draw in more oxygen. Okay, so now that you've damaged the cell membrane, you can't get the oxygen in there. So how does the body keep that from getting damaged? Superoxide dismutase, vitamin A, D, E, and K that you eat in your diet, all those colors of the rainbow that are fat-soluble antioxidants that are in the terpenoids, the carotenoids, the phenolics, they all migrate to the cell membrane, and they are preservatives. They keep it from going rancid. That's how you keep the cell membrane healthy, so that it continues to draw oxygen without becoming oxidized. Make sense? You don't want it to get oxidized. You want it to draw oxygen so it gets into the cell, so you burn glucose at a high rate of oxygen, just like your stove. You know, you ever have a wood stove and you turn the damper down too much, it smokes. Turn it up just right, and it's cooking just right, and you got a good flame in there, no smoke, no creosote, right? That's exactly what we're talking about. It's oxidation at the right temperament of oxygen getting in there, and you need something to attract the oxygen. And Warburg says it's the cell membrane that's the magnet for the oxygen. Just don't damage it with oxidized fats, and make sure your foods keep it intact. And make sure your immune system, glutathione and SOD, gets manufactured by the liver at optimal rates based on diet. Okay? So this is what he said back then. And so now we're looking at grains. Okay, so when we look at grains, here's another problem with this inflammatory process. We have this thing called lectins. And if you follow the USDA pyramid of eating a 2,000 calorie diet a day, that's all carbohydrates, even the whole grain carbohydrates, end up as what? Glucose. Might be slower than the glucose that you're going to generate from eating ice cream or table sugar, but it still is a carbohydrate that ends up as glucose. So, and the other thing it has, it produces these compounds called lectins. Lectins are interesting compounds is that they have a molecular similarity to connective